WNBA deletes post of Paige Bueckers and Angel Reese's making bet on their game. Now, before we get into the video, let me just say this. If nothing happens to these two ladies, there is a clear double standard when it comes to holding men accountable and when it comes to holding women accountable. If Paige and Angel don't get held accountable, I dare NBA players to do that.
There are moments in sports that stop everything. Moments where you put down your phone, lean forward, and think, did that actually just happen? This is one of those moments. And what makes it even more unbelievable is that the WNBA didn't just stumble into this scandal. They walked straight into it, eyes wide open, and then hit the publish button themselves. We are talking about a full-blown, league-shaking gambling controversy involving the two most recognizable, most marketable faces in women's basketball right now, Angel Reese, Paige Bueckers. Two players who have single-handedly dragged the WNBA into mainstream conversation. Two players the league has been desperately building its entire future around, caught on camera in a direct violation of the sport's most sacred, most strictly enforced rule. And the most jaw-dropping part of all of it? The league's own official social media account is the one that posted the evidence for the entire world to see. This isn't a rumor. This isn't some grainy screenshot somebody found in a Reddit thread at 2 in the morning. This is a 31-second video clip recorded on Angel Reese's own phone that the WNBA's verified X account uploaded, promoted, and celebrated, completely unaware that they had just detonated a bomb directly underneath their two biggest superstars. The panic that followed was immediate. The deletion was frantic, but as anyone who has spent 5 minutes on the internet already knows, once something is out there, it is out there forever. Screen recordings spread faster than the league could hit delete. Memes were already being made before the post even came down. And the sports world, analysts, commentators, fans, radio hosts, completely lost its mind. So sit down. Don't skip a single second of this, because we are going to break down every angle of the story the WNBA desperately tried to bury. From the moment that $400 in cold hard cash hit a practice court in Chicago, all the way to the league's emergency statement, scrambling to explain how this happened and why nobody is being punished for it. This is the full story. To fully understand how this situation exploded into one of the most talked about sports controversies of the summer, you have to go back to where it all began. Not the night of the game, not the moment the video went viral. You have to go back to AT&T WNBA All-Star Weekend in Chicago. All-Star Weekend is supposed to be a celebration. It's the mid-season showcase, the moment where the league puts its best players on display and reminds the casual fan why women's basketball is worth watching. The atmosphere is loose, players are relaxed, the competitive intensity of the regular season gets dialed down just slightly, and what you get instead is something closer to a party, a celebration of the sport and the people who play it. And that's exactly the energy that was in the air during what appeared to be a routine all-star practice session. Players were laughing, cameras were out. Nobody was treating this like a high-stakes environment, because on the surface, it wasn't one. It was just a group of professional athletes enjoying one of the more laid-back weekends on the WNBA calendar. That's when Angel Reese made her move. The Atlanta Dream star, already one of the most talked-about personalities in the entire sport, reportedly pulled out $400 in cash, physical bills, right there in the middle of practice. And she didn't pull them out to count them or show them off for no reason. She pulled them out because she had a proposition, a direct cash-on-the-table wager aimed straight at Dallas Wings rising star Paige Bueckers on the outcome of their upcoming regular season matchup. The cell phone cameras caught the whole thing. In the 31-second clip, you can hear the entire exchange unfold in real time. Bueckers, never one to shy away from a moment, leans right into it. "This is how the rich stay rich," she says, grinning. The confidence is unreal. The energy in that room was electric, and both of them clearly thought this was just friendly trash talk between two competitors who've been going back and forth since their college days.
They got a real problem. I mean, seriously, you've got people, and I'm going to be real, I'm tagging Cash Patel in this. I'm tagging J.D. Vance. I'm tagging Senator Ted Cruz. Augusta Fugler. Sorry. You got yourself a federal betting scandal. Is what you've really got.
Reese fires right back, completely unfazed. "I'm going to see you next week on Wednesday," she says. "I know y'all gonna lose." The banter is fast, it's sharp, and it's genuinely entertaining, which is probably a big part of why nobody in that room hit the brakes and said, "Hey, wait a minute." Then things get interesting. Bueckers, seemingly getting turned around on the exact terms of the bet, asks for clarification. "If we lose, you get to keep it?" And Reese, bold as ever, corrects her immediately. "No, you owe me $400. That's the moment. That's the line that would end up replaying on sports radio stations and television segments across the country for the next 48 hours. Simple, direct, and completely on camera. In the moment, it probably felt like nothing. Two competitors jawing at each other, a little cash for stakes, the kind of playful rivalry content that media teams dream about. And that's the part that makes what happened next so absolutely stunning. Here's where the story shifts from entertaining to genuinely unbelievable. It wasn't a hacker who put the video out. It wasn't a disgruntled employee leaking footage to cause chaos. It wasn't a reporter who had dug through sources for weeks trying to expose the league's biggest stars. No. The entity that released this video, the entity that packaged it up, added a caption, and uploaded it to the internet for millions of people to see, was the WNBA's own official X account. Hours before the Atlanta Dream and Dallas Wings were set to tip off on Wednesday night, July 29th, the league's verified social media team posted the 31-second clip in what was clearly meant to be a hype post. A fun, behind-the-scenes look at the playful rivalry between two of the game's biggest names, timed perfectly to build excitement heading into the night's matchup. They even included context underneath it, a reporter asking Bueckers about the bet and her confidently replying, "Bet, I'm standing on it." From a pure content standpoint, it made complete sense. It was engaging, it was timely. It featured two superstars with genuine charisma and a real competitive history. Under any other circumstances, it probably would have racked up millions of views and been hailed as exactly the kind of personality-driven content the league needs more of. But those circumstances didn't exist, because what the social media team apparently missed, somehow, in a league that handles billions of dollars in broadcast deals and sponsorship agreements, was that they had just posted video evidence of two of their active players placing a cash wager on the outcome of a game those exact same players were scheduled to play that very same night. The second it went live, the comment section became a war zone. Fans didn't need long to figure it out. Within minutes, people were pointing directly at the league's own collective bargaining agreement and quoting it back at the organization that had just handed them the ammunition. The language in the CBA is about as clear as legal language gets. Any player found by the commissioner to have been guilty of wagering on or attempting to wager on any value of a WNBA game, any game, shall be subject to fine, suspension, dismissal, or disqualification. There are no gray areas. There are no exceptions carved out for friendly bets or All-Star Weekend trash talk. The rule exists, it's explicit, and the league had just posted a video proving two of its marquee players had broken it. The second it went live, the comments section became a war zone. The front office realized what had happened almost instantly. What followed was a scramble, frantic, panicked, and unfortunately for the league, far too late. They pulled the post. They deleted it from the official X account. They attempted to scrub it from their Facebook page, but the internet had already done what the internet always does. Screen recordings had been saved in the first few minutes after it went live. Clips had been downloaded, reposted, and shared across every platform. Prominent sports media figures were already quote-tweeting it, stitching it, and reacting to it on camera. Clay Travis, one of the loudest voices in the sports media world when it comes to gambling integrity, grabbed the clip and amplified it to millions of followers almost immediately. His take was brutal and direct. He couldn't comprehend how someone with access to a league's official social media account could look at that video, see two players exchanging $400 cash while discussing a bet on their upcoming game, and think, yeah, let's post this. He wasn't the only one. The collective reaction from sports media was a combination of genuine disbelief and barely contained chaos. The WNBA had just accidentally exposed its own stars, and there was absolutely nothing they could take it back.
Now here's where a lot of casual observers made a mistake. They looked at the number, $400, and shrugged. $400? These are professional athletes who sign endorsement deals worth millions. Paige Bueckers just inked one of the most talked about NIL and professional contracts in women's basketball history. Angel Reese's brand presence alone is worth exponentially more than $400. So why does a small cash bet between friends turn into a federal-level discussion? Because the amount was never the point. The reason gambling integrity rules exist in professional sports has nothing to do with whether the number on the table is $400 or $4 million. It has everything to do with the principle and the precedent. The moment you allow players to wager on games they're actively participating in, regardless of the dollar amount, you have cracked the foundation of competitive integrity. You have introduced a reason, however small, for a player's motivations on the court to be influenced by something other than winning for their team. And once that crack exists, it doesn't stay small, it grows. The NBA learned this the hardest possible way. Gambling-related scandals have ended careers and fundamentally altered the way professional basketball is governed. The league doesn't treat betting violations lightly, regardless of who is involved, regardless of how much money changed hands, and regardless of how friendly the intentions seemed at the time. Several players across professional sports have faced serious federal-level consequences for conduct that started out looking far more innocent than what was captured in this video. And here's the context that makes this even more significant. The WNBA is no longer operating in a niche market where gambling isn't really a factor. The league has grown dramatically as a betting product. Reports from major sportsbooks estimated that the WNBA games generated approximately $1.5 billion in legal wagers during the 2025 season alone. That number is staggering. It means there are real financial stakes attached to every single game. Billions of dollars moving on the outcomes of WNBA matchups across the country. When you have that kind of money flowing through a sport, the integrity of each individual game becomes something that has to be protected at all costs. Section 5C of the 2026 WNBA Collective Bargaining Agreement doesn't leave any room for interpretation. It explicitly prohibits any player from wagering, directly or indirectly, money or anything of value on the outcome or score of any WNBA competition. The penalties are not a slap on the wrist. The commissioner holds the power to issue major financial penalties, multi-game suspensions, or, at the extreme end, complete and permanent disqualification from the league. When fans and commentators saw the video, many of them genuinely believed they were watching the beginning of the end of two careers. Radio host Rob Parker was among the loudest voices demanding action. His argument was straightforward and hard to dispute. If the WNBA wants to be spoken about in the same breath as the NBA and NFL, if they want the mainstream respect and the mainstream money that comes with that, they cannot afford to let something like this slide with no consequences. Not when the evidence is sitting right there on video for the entire world to watch. The comparison to the NBA kept coming up over and over again. The consensus among analysts was clear. If two high-profile NBA players had been caught on the league's own social media doing exactly what Angel Reese and Paige Bueckers did in that clip, the investigation would have started before the game even tipped off. There would have been no question about it. Despite the wildfire burning across every sports platform in the country, one thing was unavoidable: the games still had to be played.
On Wednesday night, the Atlanta Dream and the Dallas Wings took the floor. Angel Reese was in uniform. Paige Bueckers was in uniform. There was no emergency intervention, no last-minute league decision to pull either player from the lineup while an investigation was conducted. The tip-off happened on schedule, and millions of fans tuned in, some to watch basketball, and a whole lot of others to see exactly how these two players were going to perform with all of this hanging over their heads. The betting lines heading into the game had the Dream favored by 1.5 points. The total was set at 181.5 points, with sportsbooks expecting a relatively high-scoring affair. What they got instead was something much tighter, much grittier, and, in the context of everything that was happening off the court, genuinely riveting to watch. It went down to the final second. The Atlanta Dream held on for a razor-thin 1-point victory, defeating the Dallas Wings 82-81. The total landed at 163, well under the 181.5 line that had been set. For anyone with money on the under, it was a comfortable cover. For everyone watching to see how the two players at the center of the controversy would respond, the performances were impossible to criticize. Angel Reese was dominant. She put up 22 points, pulled down 12 rebounds, and added 4 assists, the kind of complete performance that explains exactly why the league has invested so much in making her one of its central faces. There were moments during the game where her teammates reportedly weren't getting her the ball in situations where she was wide open, and the frustration was visible, but she produced regardless. Bueckers, playing for the losing side, finished with 16 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. Not her biggest night statistically, but a solid competitive showing in a game her team lost by a single point. Both of them competed hard. Both of them gave the league exactly the kind of on-court performance it needed after the off-court chaos of the previous 24 hours. But the moment the final buzzer sounded, it was Angel Reese who made sure this story wasn't going anywhere just yet. If you thought Angel Reese was going to walk out of that arena quietly, head down, hoping the controversy would fade away on its own, you clearly haven't been paying attention to Angel Reese. When reporters caught up with her after the Dream's victory, she didn't dodge the question. She didn't offer a carefully worded non-answer crafted by a PR team. She leaned directly into the entire situation with the confidence of someone who just won a close game and fully expected to collect on a $400 bet. Her exact words to reporters, "Yeah, I'll be requesting my Apple Pay." The internet lost its mind all over again. It was audacious, it was entertaining, and depending on your perspective, it was either the most charismatic thing a professional athlete has done all season, or the single most tone-deaf response possible, given that the league was still figuring out how to handle the scandal. There was no middle ground. People either loved it or were furious about it, and both reactions sent the story to an entirely new level of viral. Sports media woke up the next morning in full eruption mode. Analysts who had been relatively measured in their initial reactions the night before now had a second act to respond to. The story had evolved from a league mistake into an active, ongoing provocation, and the calls for discipline grew significantly louder. Rob Parker's reaction became one of the most quoted and replayed segments in the immediate aftermath. His central argument hadn't changed. If this league wants respect, it cannot let players publicly joke about collecting on illegal wagers after games where those wagers were placed. The optics were catastrophic. The WNBA was in the middle of what should have been a genuinely exciting stretch of the season, with star power on display and mainstream attention finally starting to build that the league had been chasing for years. And instead of capitalizing on that momentum, the conversation had been completely overtaken by a gambling scandal that the league itself had accidentally created and then allowed to escalate.
The NBA comparison continued to dominate the discussion. Sports commentators across the board were united on one point: the standards cannot be different. If gambling integrity is taken seriously in men's professional basketball, and it unquestionably is, then the WNBA has to apply the same standard with the same urgency. The size of the bet is completely irrelevant. The fact that both players laughed it off and treated it like a fun bit is completely irrelevant. What matters is what it was, a wager between active players on a game they were both scheduled to play in that same night. Some voices online went even further, pointing out that the situation raised questions not just about the players, but about the league's internal processes. How does a video like that make it through whatever review system exists for official social media posts? Who approved it? Was there genuinely nobody in the chain of command who looked at that clip and recognized a CBA violation before it went live? The league's credibility was taking hits from multiple directions simultaneously, and the pressure to respond officially was becoming impossible to ignore. By Thursday, the WNBA had no choice. The silence was making things worse. Every hour that passed without an official statement was another hour for the speculation to grow, for the hot takes to pile up, and for the question of whether the league would actually enforce its own rules to hang in the air unanswered. So they released a statement, and what it said, or more accurately, what it didn't say, became the final twist in a story that had already delivered more unexpected turns than most sports controversies manage in their entire lifespan. A league spokesperson stepped up and addressed the situation directly. Their explanation for the original post, it simply missed the mark. That was the phrase they chose. It missed the mark. A 31-second video featuring two active players exchanging cash and verbally confirming a wager on a game they were both playing in that same night was described as content that missed the mark. The spokesperson went on to note that the video had been intended as light-hearted material and that WNBA players receive annual education and training on the league's betting policies. And then came the verdict. No fines, no suspensions, no investigation announcement, no lifetime bans, nothing. The WNBA officially confirmed that neither Angel Reese nor Paige Bueckers would face any formal disciplinary action. The league stated that the matter had been addressed internally and that it would be used as an opportunity to re-emphasize to all players that conversations about wagering, even when framed as a joke, can carry serious, unintended consequences. The reaction was immediate, and it was divided right down the middle. One side looked at the decision and saw a league protecting its most valuable assets at all costs. The cynical read was straightforward. Paige Bueckers and Angel Reese are the two players the WNBA has built its entire marketing infrastructure around heading into the next broadcast cycle. Suspending either one of them, or both, would have been a financial and promotional disaster for the league. The stars are too important. The moment was too visible. So the organization decided the most practical path forward was to acknowledge the mistake, issue a vague internal correction, and move on as quickly as possible. The other side argued that the decision actually made some sense given the specific circumstances. The bet was $400 between two friends who had known each other since their college rivalry days. The intent was clearly not to manipulate the outcome of the game. Both players competed hard, and the result was decided by a single point after a full 40 minutes of genuine competition. There was no suggestion that either player was attempting to throw the game or influence it in any way that would benefit them financially. The argument from this camp was that destroying two careers over what amounted to a friendly trash talk wager would be an overreaction that would itself damage the league's reputation just as much as the original incident.
But that argument has a serious hole in it, and the critics were quick to point it out. Rules aren't supposed to be enforced based on intent. They're supposed to be enforced based on conduct.
The CBA language doesn't include an exception for bets that were meant to be friendly. It doesn't say wagering is only a violation if the amount exceeds a certain threshold, or if the player was clearly trying to cheat. It says wagering, full stop, and the video showed exactly that. What the WNBA ultimately decided was that protecting its current commercial momentum was more important than setting a firm precedent on gambling. Whether that turns out to be the right call is something the league will probably be answering for a long time. Step back from the drama for a second. Step back from the viral clip, the deleted post, the Apple Pay joke, the radio segments, all of it, and look at what this situation actually tells us about where the WNBA is right now. The league is at an inflection point. Women's basketball has never had more eyeballs on it. Viewership numbers have climbed dramatically, betting markets have exploded, sponsorship dollars are flowing in at a level that would have seemed completely unrealistic 5 years ago. Angel Reese and Paige Bueckers are genuinely household names in a way that very few WNBA players have ever been before. The sport is growing, and it's growing fast. But growing fast comes with pressure. It comes with scrutiny. It comes with the expectation that the organization governing the sport is going to handle situations with the same professionalism and institutional seriousness as the leagues it's being compared to. And right now, based on everything that played out this week, there are real questions about whether the WNBA's internal infrastructure has kept pace with its public profile. How does a video containing an obvious gambling policy violation get posted from the league's official account? Who was responsible for content review, and why did they miss something this significant? Once the post was live and the backlash started, how long did it actually take the front office to realize what had happened and pull it down? These aren't unfair questions. They're the basic operational questions that any media organization managing billions of dollars in broadcast rights and betting market revenue should have airtight answers for. And the decision not to punish either player, while arguably understandable from a business perspective, sends a message that the league's rules have a flexibility to them that depends on who is involved. That's a dangerous precedent to set. Not because this specific situation necessarily warranted the harshest possible punishment, but because the next situation might be harder to explain away. And when that moment comes, the league's track record on enforcement is going to be part of the conversation. The integrity of a sport is one of the few things that, once genuinely compromised, is almost impossible to fully rebuild. The WNBA hasn't reached that point. This scandal, for all of its noise, appears to be exactly what the league described it as, an awkward situation involving two competitors who made a careless decision without thinking through the implications. But the league's handling of it, from the accidental posting to the frantic deletion to the no punishment verdict, leaves a trail of questions that aren't going to disappear quietly. Angel Reese is going to keep playing great basketball and posting numbers that nobody can ignore. Paige Bueckers is going to keep delivering the kind of performances that justify every bit of the hype surrounding her. The WNBA is going to keep growing, keep drawing attention, and keep pushing toward the mainstream legitimacy it has been chasing for decades. But this week served as a reminder that the road to that legitimacy runs straight through the unglamorous work of building institutional credibility, of having processes that catch mistakes before they go viral, of enforcing rules consistently regardless of who is involved, of treating the sport's integrity as something that doesn't bend based on the commercial value of the players at the center of the controversy. The $400 bet might end up being a footnote, a funny story that Angel and Paige both laugh about for years, a moment that made for great content and an even better post-game quote about Apple Pay. Or it might be the moment that people look back on and identify as the point where the WNBA had a chance to show the sports world it was serious, and decided that protecting its stars mattered more than setting the standard. Either way, the internet has the receipts, and it always will.